The cargo ship Morning Star drifted through the checkpoint like it had done 100 times before. Captain Lee Minho sat in his chair, watching the purple lights of the Volderan station grow larger on the view screen. His crew moved around the bridge with easy confidence. They had been making this run for 3 years now. Nothing ever happened at Border Station 17. Dr. Kim Yoonji looked up from her tablet. She was reading reports about the Tikresh, the small furry aliens who lived on the nearby moon. They were a peaceful species, farmers mostly. The Volderan had conquered them 20 years ago. "Captain, they're signaling for docking," said the communications officer. Minho nodded. "Take us in." The docking process was smooth. The Morning Star settled into Bay 4 with a soft clang. Minho stood and stretched. These inspections usually took an hour. The Volderan would check their cargo manifest, scan the containers, and send them on their way. Easy. Boring. But when the airlock opened, something felt wrong. The Volderan inspector who boarded was not the usual tired bureaucrat. This one wore the red armor of an enforcer. Behind him came 6 more soldiers, their weapons already drawn. Their reptilian faces showed no emotion. "Captain Lee Minho," the enforcer said. His translator made his voice sound flat and cold. "You will submit to full inspection. Your crew will remain on the bridge." Minho felt his stomach tighten, but he kept his face calm. "Of course." "Is there a problem?" The enforcer did not answer. He gestured, and his soldiers spread through the ship. Minho followed them to the cargo bay, Yoonji close behind him. They had nothing illegal. Their cargo was simple: medical supplies, farming equipment, and food. Nothing the Volderan cared about, but the enforcers were not interested in the cargo. Through the cargo bay's window, Minho saw the station's main plaza. A crowd of Tikresh aliens were being herded together by Volderan soldiers. They were chained at the neck, dozens of them. Adults, children, elderly. They moved slowly, their heads down. Minho had seen slavery before. The Volderan practiced it openly. The Galactic Assembly did nothing about it. Earth had protested many times. The elder species always said the same thing: do not interfere with imperial customs. One of the Tikresh children stumbled. It was small, maybe 5 years old in human terms. The chain around its neck pulled tight. It fell to the ground, crying out. The other prisoners could not stop because the chain connected them all. A Volderan overseer walked over. He raised his shock staff. The weapon crackled with blue energy. He brought it down on the child's back once, twice, 3 times. The child screamed. Minho moved without thinking. He slammed his hand on the cargo bay door control. The door opened with a hiss. He ran across the plaza, his boots ringing on the metal floor. Yoonji shouted behind him, but he did not stop. The overseer raised his staff for a 4th strike. Minho crashed into him shoulder first. They both went down hard. The staff skittered across the floor. The Volderan snarled and reached for Minho's throat. His claws were sharp. Minho punched him. His fist connected with the alien's jaw. The Volderan's head snapped back. Minho hit him again, and again. His knuckles split open, blood running down his fingers. Strong hands grabbed Minho from behind. 2 Volderan soldiers lifted him off the ground. He struggled, but they were stronger than any human. They threw him down on the plaza floor. His head bounced on the metal. Stars exploded in his vision. When his eyes focused again, he saw the enforcer from his ship standing over him. The officer's face was still emotionless, but his eyes burned with something cold. "You have assaulted an Imperial official," the enforcer said. "You have interfered with Imperial property. You have committed treason against the Volderan Imperium." "That's a child," Minho said. Blood ran from his split lip. "Just a child. That is property. You are under arrest." They dragged Minho to his feet. Yoonji ran toward him, but soldiers blocked her way. "Let him go!" she screamed. "He's a human citizen. You can't do this." The enforcer looked at her with something like amusement. "Contact your government. Tell them Captain Lee Minho will be tried under Imperial law. The trial will be in 3 days. The sentence is already decided. They took Minho away in chains. The next 3 days moved like a nightmare. Earth's government screamed at the Volderan. The messages came back cold and simple. Imperial law was absolute. A crime had been committed. Justice would be done. The Galactic Assembly held an emergency meeting. The elder species, the ones who had been in space for thousands of years, talked for hours. In the end, they decided nothing. They never did. President Choi Ji-won called the Voldaran Emperor himself. She offered reparations. She offered apologies. She offered anything. The Emperor listened politely and said no. An example must be made. The young species must learn their place. On the third day they held the trial. It lasted 10 minutes. Minho stood in chains in the Imperial Plaza. A judge read the charges. Minho was not allowed to speak. No witnesses were called. The verdict was guilty. The sentence was death. The execution would be public. Broadcast across 1,000 worlds. Yoonji and the crew of the Morning Star were forced to watch from a viewing platform. They held each other and cried. Back on Earth, billions watched in silence. The plaza filled with Voldaran citizens. They came to see the human die. Minho stood straight. His face was bruised and swollen, but he did not bow his head. They offered him a chance to beg for mercy. He refused. Any last words? The executioner asked. Minho looked up at the camera. He looked past the Voldaran crowd. He looked past the assembled aliens from 100 species. He looked straight into the lens, straight to Earth, straight to home. Earth will remember this, he said. The executioner activated the device. Energy beam technology, clean and quick. One moment Minho was standing. The next he was gone. Ash drifting in the artificial wind. The Voldaran applauded. On Earth there was only silence. Then slowly something else. Something cold and hard and terrible. In military bases across the planet, soldiers stood at attention. In government buildings, officials made quiet calls. In research labs deep underground, scientists began final preparations for projects that had waited in the dark. President Choi Ji-won sat in her office and watched the execution replay. Her face was carved from stone. Commander Park Dae-han stood beside her. He placed a folder on her desk. The folder was black, classified. It had been waiting for this day. They think this is over, she said quietly. Yes, Madam President, they wanted to teach us our place. Yes, Madam President, she opened the folder. Inside were plans, ship designs, weapon specifications, troop numbers. Everything Earth had been building in secret since the day they met the Voldaran and realized what the galaxy really was. Get me Admiral Kang, she said. Activate Protocol Omega, get me everyone. The assembly. The media. The people. What will you tell them? President Choi looked at the screen, at Minho's last moment, at his final words, at his courage in the face of injustice, the truth, she said. They wanted to teach us our place. Instead, they will learn why Earth stopped having world wars. We got too good at them, she stood. Her hands were steady. Her voice was iron. They killed one of ours. They think that makes them strong. They are about to learn what humans do when you touch one of our own. They are about to learn that we are not weak. We are not prey. We are not slaves. She pressed the communication button. Across Earth and every human colony, screens activated. Every human in space would see her face, would hear her words. We tried peace, she said to the billions watching. We begged for justice. We followed their laws. We asked the galaxy for help, she paused. Her eyes were fire. We choose war. Beyond Pluto, where the sun was just another star, the dark waited. In the Oort cloud hidden among ancient ice and rock, something else waited too. Ships, hundreds of them. They hung in the black, silent and invisible. They had been there for years, built in secret, armed with weapons the Galactic Assembly knew nothing about. Admiral Kang Min-seo stood on the bridge of the Retribution. She was 50 years old and had spent half her life preparing for this day. The day Earth would finally show the galaxy what humans could do when pushed too far. She watched President Choi's broadcast on the main screen. When the words, "We choose war," came through, she smiled. It was not a kind smile. All ships, she said into her comm. This is Admiral Kang. Light them up. Across the fleet, 300 warships came to life. Their reactors powered up. Their weapons systems activated. Their running lights turned on, painting the darkness with points of fire. They had been ghosts. Now they were real. The command crew on the Retribution worked with practiced efficiency. They had drilled for this moment countless times. Navigation plotted courses. Weapons checked their systems. Communications established secure channels with Earth Command. Everything was ready. Set course for the Threshold system, Admiral Kang said. Maximum burn. We have a war to start. The fleet moved. 300 ships built with technology that mixed human innovation with secrets stolen from the Voldaran, accelerated toward Imperial space. They would reach the border in 72 hours. On Mars, in a facility buried under Olympus Mons, Dr. Han Junho watched his life's work wake up. The Genesis program, soldiers enhanced beyond human limits. They could breathe thin atmosphere. They could survive radiation that would kill others in minutes. They could heal from wounds that should be fatal. Their reflexes were 3 times faster than normal humans. Their bones were reinforced. Their muscles were enhanced. The 1st Battalion stood in formation before him. 200 soldiers who had volunteered to become something more than human, something designed for war. They looked mostly normal, but medical scanners told a different story. Their biology had been rewritten. At ease, Dr. Han said. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. You all know why you are here. You volunteered for this program because you wanted to serve Earth, because you wanted to protect humanity, because you knew this day would come. He paused. The soldiers watched him with eyes that gleamed slightly in the dim light. The neural implants did that. Captain Lee Minho died because he tried to save a child. The galaxy watched and did nothing. Now the galaxy will watch as we make them pay for their silence. You are the first Genesis soldiers. You are not human anymore. You are better. You are weapons, and Earth needs weapons right now. Major Song Hyejin stood in the front row. She had been Special Forces before the program. Now she was something else. She could feel the enhancements in her body. The power, the speed, the absolute certainty that she could do things normal soldiers could not. When do we deploy? She asked. 18 hours, Dr. Han said. Your target is Border Station 17, the place where they killed Captain Minho. Intelligence says there are 300 Voldaran soldiers there. You will have 50 soldiers. The mission is simple. Kill them all. Leave one alive. Give him a message, Major Song nodded. Earth remembers. Exactly. Across the galaxy in the heart of Voldaran space, Agent Yoon Sarah sat in a small apartment and decoded the message from Earth. It was just 3 words. Light the fires. She smiled. 5 years. 5 years of living among the Voldaran, pretending to be a traitor, building her network of human agents and sympathetic aliens. 5 years of mapping Imperial installations, stealing fleet data, learning their routines. Now it was time to use everything she had learned. She opened her encrypted communicator and sent messages to 50 different agents scattered across Imperial worlds. Each message contained targeting data, coordinates, guard schedules, weaknesses, everything needed to cripple the Voldaran military infrastructure. The Imperium thought Earth was weak, thought humans were soft. They were about to learn that humans had been fighting wars since before the Voldaran had invented fire. And humans were very, very good at it. In the Imperial capital, Chancellor Vec Theron watched the broadcast from Earth with amusement. President Choi's declaration of war was entertaining. He called his military council together and they laughed about it. Earth had maybe 100 warships. The Imperium had 10,000. The humans would be crushed in days. Should we take this seriously? One of his generals asked. Vec Theron waved a clawed hand. Send a battle fleet to Earth, destroy their orbital stations. Blockade their planet. They will surrender within a week. These humans need to learn humility. And if they do not surrender, then we will do to their world what we did to their captain. These primitives must learn their place. The meeting adjourned. Orders went out. A Voldaran battle fleet of 500 ships began preparations to move toward Earth. They expected an easy victory. A quick war. A harsh lesson taught to an upstart species. They had no idea what was coming. Back on Earth in the underground command center, President Choi met with her war council. Commander Park Daehan spread holographic maps across the table. They showed the entire Voldaran Imperium, thousands of systems, billions of citizens, an empire that had stood for 3,000 years. The Voldaran are sending a fleet to Earth, Commander Park said. 500 ships. They will be here in 2 weeks. Let them come, President Choi said. Admiral Kang's fleet will hit them at Threshold System first. We need to make a statement. We need the galaxy to understand that this is not a rebellion. This is a war, and we intend to win it. The Galactic Assembly is calling for negotiations, said Foreign Minister Lee Hyun-woo. The elder species are concerned about stability. President Choi's eyes were cold. Where were they when we begged for Minho's life? Where were they when we asked for justice? They stayed silent. Now they can watch what happens when you ignore human pleas for mercy. She looked at each member of her council. I want total war. Every resource, every factory, every shipyard. We mobilize everything. The Voldaran think this will be easy. We will drown them in blood and fire. The casualties will be enormous, said General Im Jae-sung. On both sides? Yes, President Choi said quietly. They will. But if we do not fight now, if we accept Minho's death, then we accept that humans are slaves in this galaxy, that any empire can kill us whenever they want. I will not accept that. Will you? The council answered with silence. Then one by one they nodded. Good, President Choi said. Then let us show the galaxy what happens when you execute a human. Commander Park, activate all sleeper agents. I want chaos in Imperial space. General Im, begin full mobilization. I want every human who can hold a weapon trained and ready. Foreign Minister Lee, send a message to every species the Voldaran have conquered. Tell them Earth is going to war. Tell them if they rise up now, we will help them. Tell them the age of empires is ending. She stood, her hands pressed flat on the table. The Voldaran wanted to make an example of Captain Minho. Instead, they created a war they cannot win, because they do not understand humans. They think we are weak because our bodies break easily. They do not know that we have been breaking each other for thousands of years. They do not know that war is what we are best at. Admiral, Kang's fleet reached the threshold. System 70 hours after leaving the Oort. Cloud they dropped out of, faster than light travel at the edge of the system. Sensors immediately picked up the Voldaran presence. A garrison fleet of 30 ships orbited the main station. All ships, Admiral Kang said. Battle formation. Prepare to engage. Show them what human engineering can do. The Voldaran detected them immediately. Their commander, a veteran of a dozen minor suppressions, looked at his sensors and laughed. 300 human ships against an empire of 10,000. The humans were insane. He sent a message. Human fleet, you are ordered to surrender immediately. You cannot win this war. Retreat now and your executions will be quick. Admiral Kang's response was simple. Earth remembers, and Earth does not forgive. The battle began, and the Voldaran learned their first lesson about fighting humans. Humans did not fight fair. Humans did not fight with honor. Humans fought to win, and they had been perfecting the art of killing for their entire history. The war had begun. The galaxy would never be the same. The Battle of Threshold System lasted 7 hours. When it was over, 30 Voldaran ships were debris. The human fleet had lost 12 ships, but they had made their point. The Voldaran commander's last transmission was filled with disbelief and terror. He could not understand how the humans moved so fast, shot so accurately, fought so viciously. Admiral Kang watched the enemy flagship explode and felt nothing. No joy, no satisfaction, just cold purpose. This was not the main battle. This was just the beginning. Casualty report, she said. 12 ships lost, 2,000 crew dead, another 800 wounded. Her operations officer paused. Admiral, the Voldaran fought like they had never seen real combat before. They have not, Admiral Kang said. The Imperium has not fought a real war in 300 years. They conquered weak species who could not fight back. We are different. Send the battle data to Earth Command. Every ship captain needs to study what worked and what did not. And send a message to the Galactic Assembly. Show them what happened here. The message went out. Across the galaxy on 1,000 worlds, beings watched the battle footage. They saw human ships moving in ways that should not be possible. They saw weapons that cut through Imperial shields like paper. They saw tactics that were brutal and effective. The elder species began to realize that perhaps they had made a mistake. Perhaps humans were not as weak as they seemed. On Border Station 17, night cycle began. The station dimmed its lights. 300 Voldaran soldiers settled into their routine. Guards walked their patrols. Officers slept in their quarters. No one expected any trouble. The station was deep in Imperial space, far from Earth. They were safe. Major Song Hyejin and her Genesis soldiers arrived in the dark between stars. Their ship, painted black, running silent, drifted toward the station like a piece of debris. When they were close enough, they launched. 50 soldiers in powered armor, using cold gas thrusters, flew across the void. No heat signatures. No engine noise. Invisible. They landed on the station's outer hull. Breaching charges planted. Countdown started. 3, 2, 1. The charges blew, silent in the vacuum. The soldiers poured inside. What happened next was not a battle. It was a massacre. The Genesis soldiers moved through the station like ghosts. Their enhanced reflexes and neural implants let them process information faster than any unmodified being. They knew where every Volduran was before they entered a room. Their weapons, designed specifically to kill efficiently, made almost no sound. Major Song led her squad through the barracks. Voldaran soldiers woke to find death standing over them. They died before they could scream. The station's security systems never triggered an alarm. The soldiers hacked them within minutes of boarding. In the command center, the station commander died at his desk. His last sight was a human soldier, face hidden behind a black helmet, weapon aimed at his head. He tried to reach for his communicator. Major Song shot him before his fingers touched it. The entire operation took 40 minutes. 299 Volduran soldiers died. 1 survived. The communications officer. Major Song found him hiding in a supply closet, shaking with fear. "Please," he begged. "Please do not kill me." Major Song pulled off her helmet. Her face was hard. Her eyes showed no mercy. "You are going to send a message for me. To your high command, to your emperor, to everyone who watched Captain Lee Min-ho die." She grabbed the officer by his armor and dragged him to the command center. She threw him into the commander's chair. "Send this, Earth remembers. And Earth is coming for you." The officer's claws shook as he typed the message. When it was sent, he looked up at her with desperate hope. "I did what you asked. Will you let me live now?" "Yes," Major Song said. She leaned close. "You will live. You will tell everyone what happened here. You will tell them that 300 Imperial soldiers died and only 1 human squad did it. You will tell them that this is just the beginning. And you will spend every day for the rest of your life knowing that you survived because we wanted you to, because the message is more important than your death." She turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing. The judge who sentenced Captain Min-ho, where is he?" The officer swallowed. "He transferred to Station Command Sigma, 3 systems from here." "Thank you," Major Song said. Then she and her soldiers left, disappearing into the dark as silently as they had come. On Earth in Seoul, Na Tae-hyung stood in front of his brother's memorial. Lee Min-ho's picture smiled down at him. Tae-hyung remembered that smile, remembered his brother's laugh, remembered the last message Min-ho had sent before his final voyage. "Take care of yourself, little brother. I will see you in 3 months." Min-ho never came home. Tae-hyung was 23 years old. He had been studying engineering. He had a girlfriend. He had plans for a normal life. All of that died when his brother did. Now he had only one plan, one purpose. He walked into the military recruitment center. The officer at the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "I want to join the Genesis program," Tae-hyung said. The officer's expression changed. "Do you understand what that program involves? The modifications are extreme. The pain is intense. Not everyone survives the process." "My brother was Lee Min-ho," Tae-hyung said quietly. "I do not care about the pain. I do not care about the risks. I want to make them pay, all of them." The officer nodded slowly. "Report to Mars Station in 48 hours. And good luck." The transformation took 3 months. They rebuilt Tae-hyung's body piece by piece. His bones were infused with carbon alloy. His muscles were enhanced with synthetic fibers. His reflexes were accelerated with neural implants. His organs were modified to process toxins and survive in hostile environments. His eyes were replaced with cybernetic versions that could see in multiple spectrums. The pain was beyond description. Several times, Tae-hyung begged them to stop. Dr. Han Junho always gave him the same choice: quit or continue. Tae-hyung thought of his brother's face. He thought of Min-ho dying alone on that plaza. He continued. When the process was complete, Na Tae-hyung stood in front of a mirror and barely recognized himself. He looked mostly human, but his eyes gleamed silver. His movements were too smooth, too fast. He could feel power in every muscle. He was a weapon now. Exactly what he wanted to be. "How do you feel?" Dr. Han asked. "Ready," Tae-hyung said. On the Volduran homeworld, Chancellor Vectherin received the reports from Threshold System and Border Station 17. His amusement had turned to concern. The humans were fighting better than expected. Their technology was surprisingly advanced. Their tactics were brutal but effective. "Perhaps we should negotiate," one of his advisors suggested. "Offer them reparations for the executed human. And this before it escalates further." Vectherin considered it. Then he thought about the Imperium's reputation. If they backed down now, every conquered species would see weakness. The Imperium's control depended on fear. on the certainty that resistance was futile. "No," he said. "We will crush them. Order the destruction of Proxima Station. Kill every human there. Show them what happens when they defy the Imperium." "But sir, that is a civilian colony. 20 million humans live there. The Galactic Assembly will condemn us." "The Assembly does nothing but talk," Vecatharon said. "Send the order, and prepare to invade Earth itself. We will make an example of their homeworld that the galaxy will never forget." The order went out. A Voldaran battle fleet moved toward Proxima Station. The humans there had no idea what was coming, but Earth knew. Agent Yunsera intercepted the Imperial orders and sent an emergency message to Earth Command. President Choi received the news in her office. She read the message 3 times, her face growing paler with each reading. "They are going to destroy Proxima," she said quietly. 20 million people. "We have ships in the area," Commander Park said. "But not enough. The Voldaran fleet is too large. We cannot evacuate everyone in time." President Choi closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were filled with cold fury. "Then we cannot save them. But we can avenge them. Commander, I want every weapon we have been holding back. Every secret project. Every experimental technology. The Voldaran want to kill civilians? Fine. We will show them what human restraint has been protecting them from. We will show them what total war really means." The Voldaran fleet reached Proxima Station 6 hours later. They did not negotiate. They did not give warnings. They simply opened fire. The station's shields lasted 10 minutes. Then the structure began to break apart. People tried to evacuate, but there was nowhere to go. The escape pods were easy targets. It took 2 hours to completely destroy Proxima Station. 20 million humans died. The Voldaran broadcasted across the galaxy, just like they had broadcast Minho's execution. They wanted everyone to see what happened to species who defied the Imperium. They succeeded. Everyone saw, including every human in the galaxy. The response was not despair. It was not surrender. It was rage. Pure, absolute, terrible rage. President Choi addressed Earth one more time. Her voice was quiet, but it carried the weight of 20 million deaths. "They have killed our people. They have murdered our civilians. They believe this will break us. They are wrong. This has freed us. We no longer need to hold back. We no longer need to fight with restraint. From this moment, the Voldaran Imperium is our enemy in total war. And we will not stop until every single one of them understands what they have done." She paused. Active, the Prometheus weapon existed in theory for 50 years before Earth ever built it. The principle was simple but horrible. Find a star's resonance frequency. Send a pulse at exactly the right wavelength. Watch the star tear itself apart. It was a doomsday weapon, the kind of thing that peaceful civilizations never actually built. Earth built 3 of them. Engineer Lim Ji-hoon stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Daybreak and watched his creation power up. The weapon looked simple, just a ring of exotic matter generators, but when activated it could kill billions. His hands shook as he initialized the targeting system. "Are you certain about this?" the ship's captain asked. "Once we do this, there is no going back. The galaxy will call us monsters. They already call us weak," Lim Ji-hoon said quietly. They watched while the Voldaran killed Captain Minho. They did nothing while Proxima Station burned. Let them call us monsters, as long as they fear us enough to never do it again. The target was Voldara Prime's sun, the Voldaran homeworld. 3 billion people live there. It was the heart of the Imperium, and Earth was about to make it disappear. "Weapon charged," Lim Ji-hoon said. "Targeting locked, waiting for authorization." The authorization came directly from President Choi. One word: fire. Lim Ji-hoon pressed the activation button. The Prometheus weapon sent its pulse into the star. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the star began to shudder. Its surface rippled. Flares erupted larger than planets. The fusion reaction inside went unstable. The Daybreak jumped to faster than light speed before the star exploded. They did not watch. They did not need to. The calculations were certain. In 6 hours, the star would go supernova. Everything in the system would die. When the shockwave hit Voldara Prime, the Imperium's homeworld simply ceased to exist. 3 billion Voldaran, gone in an instant. The capital of a 3,000-year-old empire, erased. The message was clear and terrible. If you kill our civilians, we will kill yours. And we can do it on a scale you cannot imagine. The Galactic Assembly convened in emergency session. The elder species, who had ruled the galaxy for millennia, were in shock. Ambassador Yang Mirai stood before them. She had been a diplomat before the war, a voice for peace and cooperation. But Proxima Station had changed her. She looked at the assembled species with cold eyes. "You want to condemn Earth," she said. "You want to tell us we have gone too far." Where were these words when the Voldaran executed Captain Minho? Where was this concern when they destroyed Proxima Station? You speak of morality only when it is convenient, only when it is not you who are dying. The matriarch of the Sylvath Collective spoke. The destruction of an entire world crosses all acceptable lines. You have committed genocide. Yes, Yang Mirai said simply. We have. Just as the Voldaran did at Proxima. The difference is that we have the power to do it again. And again. Until the Imperium surrenders unconditionally. You want us to stop? Then give us what we asked for in the beginning. Justice, accountability, an end to slavery and oppression. Give us those things and the killing stops. And if we refuse? Yang Mirai's smile was terrible. Then watch. Watch as we burn every Voldaran world until they surrender. Watch as the Imperium falls. Watch as Earth shows the galaxy what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. You had your chance to stop this peacefully. You chose to do nothing, now you will do nothing again. But this time you will do nothing while we win. She walked out of the assembly. Behind her, the elder species argued and debated and accomplished nothing, just like always. In Imperial space, Captain Bae Suman led her fighter squadron through the debris field that used to be a Voldaran fleet. Her cockpit was splashed with emergency lights and damage warnings. Her body hurt from the G-forces. The neural implant in her brain fed her more stimulants to keep her conscious. "Phoenix Squadron, form up," she said into her comm. "We have another wave incoming." Her squadron consisted of 20 fighters. They were outnumbered 5-1. The Voldaran fighters were newer, faster, better armed. But they were piloted by beings who had never experienced total war, who had never pushed themselves to the edge of death and beyond. Captain Bae had. Every human pilot had. They flew their fighters at G-forces that should kill them. The Genesis enhancements let them survive. Barely. But they survived long enough to kill. The battle was brutal. Captain Bae's fighter took hits. Her shields failed. Hull plating melted. Alarms screamed. She ignored all of it. Her targeting computer locked onto an enemy fighter. She fired. The Voldaran exploded. She moved to the next target. By the time the battle ended, her squadron had lost 12 fighters, but the Voldaran had lost all 100 of theirs. Captain Bae's fighter was held together mostly by emergency sealant and luck. She could barely move her arms. Blood ran from her nose and ears, but she was alive. "Phoenix Leader to Carrier," she said. Her voice was hoarse. "Mission accomplished. Requesting emergency landing clearance. And medical. Lots of medical." She landed more by instinct than skill. The carrier's medical team pulled her from the cockpit. She was unconscious before they got her to the surgery bay. They rebuilt her broken body, just like they had done 4 times before, just like they would do again. The Voldaran called her the Angel of Death. A human who refused to die, who kept coming back, battle after battle, killing with cold efficiency. She was everything they feared about humans, fragile but unstoppable, weak but terrifying. On the ground, the war was even worse. Na Tae-hyung and his Genesis battalion landed on Fortress Voldra, one of the Imperium's most heavily defended worlds. The Voldaran had 200,000 soldiers there, state-of-the-art defenses, orbital shields. It should have taken months to conquer. The humans did it in 5 days. Tae-hyung led his squad through the fortress city. They moved through buildings, sewers, ventilation shafts, places the Voldaran never thought to defend because their soldiers were too large, too inflexible. Humans were smaller. Humans could fit anywhere. Humans did not fight with honor. They fought to win. The Voldaran soldiers fought bravely. They fought desperately. It did not matter. The Genesis soldiers were faster, stronger, more ruthless. They had been created for this. Their enhancements let them fight for days without sleep. Let them survive wounds that should be fatal. Let them keep killing long after normal soldiers would have collapsed. Taehyung found the commander of Fortress Voldra in his command bunker. The Voldaran raised his weapon. Taehyung shot it out of his hands. Then he shot him in both legs. The commander fell, roaring in pain. "I am not Taehyung," he said quietly. "My brother was Lee Minho. You remember him? The human your empire executed?" The commander's eyes widened with recognition and fear. "Good," Taehyung said. "I want you to remember. I want you to know why this is happening. My brother died trying to save a child. Your empire killed him for showing mercy. Now you understand what it means to fight beings who have none." He raised his weapon. The commander died. Taehyung felt nothing. No satisfaction, no joy, just emptiness. His brother was still dead. Nothing would bring him back. All Taehyung could do was make sure the Voldaran paid for it. The fortress fell. 200,000 Voldaran soldiers died. The human battalion lost 300 soldiers. The kill ratio shocked the galaxy. How could such a young species fight so well? The answer was simple but terrible. Humans had been fighting each other for their entire history. They knew war intimately. They understood violence on a level that peaceful species could not match. The Voldaran had not fought a real war in centuries. Humans had never stopped. Dr. Kim Yoonji worked in the War Crimes Investigation Unit. She had survived the Morning Star disaster, had watched her captain die. Now she documented every atrocity the Imperium had committed, not just against humans, against every species they had conquered. The evidence was overwhelming. Millions enslaved, thousands executed for minor offenses, entire species wiped out for resisting. The Voldaran Empire was built on suffering. Minho's execution was not unusual. It was just the one that finally got noticed. "We need to publish this," Yoonji told President Choi. "The galaxy needs to see what the Imperium really is, not the civilized empire they pretend to be, the monsters they actually are." "Do it," President Choi said. "Let every species see. Let them understand why we fight, why we cannot stop until the Imperium is destroyed." The evidence went public. Across the galaxy, beings saw the truth. Some species rose in rebellion. Others stayed neutral, but stopped supporting the Imperium. The Voldaran Empire, which had seemed eternal, began to crack. Chancellor Vec Theron watched his empire crumble. The humans had been at war for only 8 months. In that time, they had destroyed dozens of fleets, conquered hundreds of worlds, and killed billions. His military was in chaos. His vassal species were rebelling. His economy was collapsing. How? He asked his generals. How can one species do this? They are primitives. They have been in space for barely a century. How? No one had an answer, because the truth was too terrible to speak. The Voldaran had built an empire on fear and oppression. They had forgotten how to actually fight. Earth had never forgotten. And now that difference was destroying them. "We must negotiate," one general said, "before they reach the capital, before they destroy everything." And the Imperial capital system of Voldrath glowed red on Admiral Kang Minseo's tactical display. 10,000 Voldaran warships waited there. Every vessel the Imperium could spare, every soldier they could muster. This was their final stand, the last desperate defense of an empire that had ruled for 3,000 years. Earth's fleet numbered 800 ships. They had been joined by rebel forces from a dozen conquered species. The odds were still against them, but odds had stopped mattering months ago. "All ships, this is Admiral Kang," she broadcast to her fleet. "We have traveled far to reach this moment. We have fought hard. We have lost many. Today we end the war that began when they executed Captain Lee Minho. Today we show the galaxy that justice, no matter how delayed, will always come. For Earth, for humanity, for every being the Imperium has oppressed, attack." The human fleet moved forward. The Voldaran fleet moved to meet them. The Battle of Voldrath began. Space filled with fire. Ships died in the thousands. The Voldaran fought with the desperation of those who knew they were doomed. They rammed human vessels when their weapons failed. They broadcast surrender offers and then attacked when humans lowered shields. They used every dirty trick, every war crime, every violation of civilized combat. The humans responded with cold efficiency. They had learned not to trust Voldaren honor. They had learned that mercy was a weakness the enemy would exploit. They fought without hesitation, without pause, without remorse. This was what total war meant. This was what the Voldaren had created when they killed Minho. Captain Bae Suman led her squadron through the chaos. This was her 43rd combat mission. Her body was more synthetic parts than original biology now. Every time she was wounded, they rebuilt her. Every time she died, they brought her back. She was more weapon than woman, and she was very good at her job. Phoenix Squadron, target the command carrier, she ordered. That big one at the center. If we kill their flagship, their coordination collapses. The squadron dove toward the massive Voldaren vessel. Point defense fire filled space around them. Fighters exploded. Captain Bae's wingman died. Then another. Then another. But she kept flying, kept dodging, kept moving forward. Her targeting computer locked onto the carrier's reactor. She fired every missile she had. The warhead struck home. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the carrier exploded from within. The blast was so large it destroyed 20 nearby Voldaren ships. Target destroyed, Captain Bae reported. Her voice was flat, empty. She had stopped feeling anything months ago. Moving to next objective. But her fighter was damaged beyond repair. She knew it. Her co-pilot knew it. We need to eject, he said. Not yet, Captain Bae said. One more target. One more kill. Then we can rest. She pointed her dying fighter at another Voldaren ship and accelerated. Full burn, maximum speed. The Voldaren saw her coming but could not stop her. Her fighter struck their hull like a kinetic weapon. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. In the last second before impact, Captain Bae thought about Minho, about Proxima Station, about all the humans who had died in this war. She hoped it was enough. She hoped their sacrifice meant something. Then there was only light. On the ground, the battle was just as brutal. Commander Shin Yunji led Marine battalions through the Imperial capital city. The Voldaren had turned their own capital into a fortress. Every building was a strong point. Every street was a kill zone. They made the humans pay for every meter. But humans were good at urban combat. They had spent centuries perfecting it in wars on Earth. Stalingrad, Berlin, Baghdad, Fallujah. Cities where millions died. The Voldaren had no experience with this kind of fighting. They learned quickly, but not quickly enough. Shin Yunji's Marines moved through buildings like ghosts. They used sewers, subways, ventilation systems. They ambushed Voldaren patrols. They sniped officers. They destroyed supply depots. Slowly, block by block, they pushed toward the Imperial Palace. Na Tai-hyung was with them. His Genesis enhancements made him faster, stronger, deadlier than any normal soldier. He had stopped counting his kills months ago. Had stopped remembering the faces of the Voldaren he executed. They were just targets now. Obstacles between him and the people responsible for his brother's death. The Imperial Palace was a fortress within the fortress. Walls 3 meters thick, energy shields, automated defenses, elite guards who had trained their entire lives for combat. Chancellor Vectheron himself commanded the defense from his throne room. This is it, Shin Yunji said to her troops. The heart of the Imperium. The place where this war began. We end it here. For Minho, for Proxima, for Earth, the assault began at dawn. Human artillery hammered the palace walls. Dropships delivered more troops. Tanks rolled through the streets. The Voldaren defenders fought hard, but they were outnumbered, outgunned, and exhausted. The siege lasted 2 days. Then the walls fell. Na Tai-hyung was in the first wave through the breach. He fought through corridors filled with smoke and blood. His enhanced body moved on instinct. Dodge, shoot, kill, advance, repeat. His squad followed him, trusting his point. They found Chancellor Vectheron in his throne room. The massive Voldaren sat on a throne made of bones from conquered species. Around him stood his personal guard, 50 of the Empire's best warriors. They raised their weapons. You cannot win, Vectheron said. His voice was calm. Even if you kill me, even if you destroy the Imperium, you have proven you are no better than us. You are monsters. Genocidal killers. The galaxy will never forgive what you have done. You are right, Na Tai-hyung said. He stepped forward, weapon raised. We are monsters now. You made us this way. You showed us that mercy is weakness, that peace is meaningless without power. You taught us how to be monsters. And we learned well. My brother tried to save a child, Taehyung continued. You killed him for it. Then you killed 20 million more at Proxima. You wanted to teach us our place. Instead, you taught us that the galaxy only respects violence. So we gave you violence, more than you could imagine. And now your empire burns. The guards attacked. The battle was short and brutal. Genesis soldiers against elite Voldaran warriors. The humans won. They always won now. Too fast, too strong, too experienced. 50 guards dead in under 2 minutes. Vectherin tried to run. Taehyung shot him in the legs. The Chancellor fell. Taehyung walked over to him slowly. This is for my brother, he said quietly. Then he pulled the trigger. The death of Chancellor Vectherin broke the Voldaran resistance. All across the capital, Imperial forces began to surrender. In space, the remaining Voldaran ships stopped fighting. The Battle of Voldrath was over. The war was over. Admiral Kang stood on the bridge of her damaged flagship and watched the surrender on her screens. She felt exhausted, hollow. They had won. Earth had destroyed an empire that had stood for 3,000 years. But the cost was staggering. 2 million human soldiers dead, 300 ships destroyed, and billions of Voldaran civilians killed in the fighting. The galaxy would remember this war, would remember what humans were capable of when pushed too far. Dr. Kim Yoonji arrived in the capital 3 days after its fall. She had been authorized to document the Voldaran war crimes for the coming trials. What she found was worse than she imagined. Evidence of atrocities spanning centuries, millions enslaved, thousands of species oppressed. Minho's execution was barely a footnote in the Empire's history of cruelty, but she also found something else. Evidence that made her sick. In the final days of the war, human forces had committed their own atrocities. Prisoners executed, civilians killed in crossfire, cities destroyed when they could have been captured. Somewhere in the rage and grief, some humans had crossed lines that should never be crossed. She compiled everything into a report, the good and the bad, the justified and the inexcusable. She sent it to President Choi with a simple message. We won, but we need to remember what we became in the process, so it never happens again. The Galactic Assembly convened to discuss the peace terms. Elder Matriarch Sylvana looked at the assembled species with tired eyes. The old order was dead, the Voldaran Empire was gone, and in its place stood Earth, young, powerful, terrifying. Ambassador Yang Mirai presented humanity's demands. Complete dissolution of the Imperial government. War crimes trials for Imperial leadership, reparations for every species the Voldaran had oppressed, and a complete reorganization of the Galactic Assembly to ensure equal representation for all species. These terms are harsh, Sylvana said. These terms are just, Yang Mirai replied. Your assembly watched while the Voldaran committed atrocities for centuries. You did nothing. You are complicit. Now you will help us fix what was broken, or Earth will enforce these terms with the same force we used to win the war. The elder species argued, debated, complained. But in the end, they agreed. They had no choice. Earth's fleet orbited the assembly station. Their weapons were still hot from battle. The message was clear: agree or become the next target. President Choi Ji-won addressed Earth for the last time as wartime president. Her face showed every day of the 14-month conflict. She had aged 10 years in that time. The war is over, she said simply. We won. The Voldaran Empire is destroyed. Justice has been served. But the cost was terrible. Millions of our people died. We committed acts in this war that will haunt us forever.